Ayan na. Mag-look away ako. Natatawa na ako. Di ko na makontrol sarili ko. Ayan na. Ayan na talaga. Ayan na talaga. Wala eh. Just when you thought it can get lower level, may nangyari pong press conference. Sino pong genius ang nag-isip ng ganyan press conference? Ayan na. Mga kameta, nagkaroon po ng GMRC PressCon edition, which was like the last thing that we needed at this point in the race, which was, I think, the last thing that Isko Moreno needed in this race. Oy, happy si Mr. GMRC, meron na siyang mga kakampi. Oh, happy siya. Pinapa-withdraw kasi kami. Ganyan. Oh, di happy siya. Meron na siyang mga mga batchmates. Team GMRC. Pero Isko naman, that was like the last thing you needed. Yorme naman. Kaya nga natin sinasabi, three-way race dapat sana to. Maganda to. Ganyan. Tapos nakisabay ka dun sa mga statistically impossible na may chance to even be competitive in this race. Nako po, ayan na. Sino ang genius na nag-isip ng na ito, press conference? Bakit ganun yung politika natin? Saan po na-download yung mga ganitong idea? Paki-explain sa akin. Anong website po yan? Si Shopee ba yan in-order? Kasi talagang parang eye roll talaga ako. At aminado ako di ko pinanood kahapon, di ko pinatulan kahapon. Kasi Sabbath day po. At saka Easter. Kung mag-press con ka ng ganitong araw na napaka-holy day, sana naman yung positive, spiritual, tapos, di ko na pinatulang. Sabi ko, bukas na ako mag-comment yan. Tuloy, di ako nakatulog ng konti. 3 a.m. pa ako gising Tinapos ko muna ibang trabaho. Malalaman nyo dun sa online post ko, maaga pa lang, 6 a.m. pa lang, may mga pinapost na ako dyan Ayan na. Okay. Ito, may notes tayo siniseryoso ko kayo. Bukas may lesson tayo ulit Sunod dun sa interregnum natin, yung mga absent dyan. Pa-recite tayo dyan. Ano ulit yung interregnum? Meron na tayong interregnum. May Antonio Gramsci kayo. Bukas na lang siguro, pag-usapan natin yung concept of the median voter. Very important yan. Because the concept of the median voter shapes the political strategy of the candidates very much. Nako, gagayain na naman tayo ng mga ibang vloggers dyan mamaya. Tapos sasabihin, hindi kailangan yung mga experts. Paano naman? Mananood kayo sa amin, nanakawin niyo yung ideas namin. Tamad naman kayo magbasa ng mga sinusulat namin. Tapos bukas, feeling matalino na kayo. Tapos ganun. Di na kailangan ng mga analyst. Ganun. Walang. Mabait tayo. Okay, mabait tayo Morning session tayo. Balik tayo. Bukas Bukas, mag-research na kayo. Concept of median voter. Yung mga hindi nag-statistics, paki-check yung difference between mean, median, average, yung mga ganito may statistical yan. May statistical implications po yan. Hindi po sila para sa yung mean, iba po sa median. So yan, pag-usapan natin yung concept of median voter. Kasi ito po ang favorite ng mga centrist candidates. Which of course brings us to the next idea. What is a centrist candidate? That also depends on the ground, the political ground. So bukas natin pag-usapan yan. Don't worry, relax lang kayo. Mag-research muna kayo ng concept of median voter. Pag-usapan natin kahapon yan. Because I believe that is what is shaping the Isko Moreno strategy. The same way it shaped the Grace Post strategy. But I think the application or operationalization, concept, ito pang isa pang word, operationalization. Nako po, dapat matutunan yung mga ganitong konsepto. Mga social science terms po yan ang ginagamit po namin. Kami po ay hindi lang marites lang dito, nakikisakay sa mga political ek-ek. Pinag-aralan po namin yan na mabuti. Hindi lang yung nandito sa Pilipinas, pinag-aralan po namin nangyari around the world. Kaya bukas, pag-usapan natin si Isko, yung concept of median voter. Pag-usapan din natin si Zelensky, si Lodi. Zelensky, yan. Pag-usapan natin si Zelensky bukas, kasi his story is very inspiring. Dahil just 2 months ago, everyone was counting him out. Now, iko-connect ko yan mamaya kay Isko. Huwag kayo magalit sa akin. Iko-connect ko lahat yan. Don't worry. Pero bukas yan. Today, pag-usapan po natin, mga ka-GMRC, mga ka-Meta, mga mga maraming opinion on yun. Uy, daming dumalaw daw dun sa si Baguio, hometown natin. Mukhang si perfect attendance. Meron siyang dun sa Melvin Jones kung saan nag-football kami. Dami daw dumalo Daming Kaya post natin yung aerial shot. Makita natin yan. Nako po, matatroll na naman ako. Sino naka-assign sa akin today? Tingnan ko nga sa comment section. Alam mo na, may memorize ko yung mga pangalan. Kung isa kang troll, tapos di mo pinapalitan mo yung fake profile mo, tapos na-memorize ko yung pangalan mo, babalikan kita. Sige. Sige lang. Subukan nyo ako mga ka-GMRC. Mga ka-GMRC. Ayan. Balikan natin yung notes natin dito sa orange Dutch style book natin. Kasi, meron akong book na ganyan. Saan ko naman gagamitin to? Ang ganda nito. Thank you sa Dutch Foreign Ministry. Nung nag-talk kami sa Netherlands, sa Leiden University, may talk ako dyan 3 years ago. Hindi ko naman nakita si ito po yung binigay sa amin. Saan ko naman dalhin tong orange book? Akalain mo, may notebook nga orange. Punta ka sa meeting na napakaseryoso. Tapos may dala kang gano'n. Tapos nakagaya, Mont Blanc ka. Tapos gano'n. Tapos gano'n. Tapos lahat ng atin, ba't siya naka-orange? Mahirap na. Yun ba yung kulay ni, yung Labina ito dati, di ba? Tsaka ni, Pacquiao. Ayan, okay. Si Pacquiao, ano bang kulay ni Pacquiao? Sa to? Okay. Ito. Relax lang kayo dyan. Pag-usapan natin yan, gamitin natin tong ballpen at tsaka tong papel. Kunyari lang yan, pero alam ko na yung sasabihin ko. Okay. Ito. Wag na kayo magalit Good morning. By the way, good morning. I hope you had a blessed holidays with your family and loved ones. I hope you use the weekend and the holidays to have spiritual renewal. Alam niyo ako, makulit ako. I'm very active and all, but I had very strict no work policy. Nagkasakit na nga ako nung isang araw. Hindi yata ako sanay na hindi makulit Yung energy na hindi lumalabas, pupunta sa loob. Kaya medyo windang tayo ng konti. But thank God, medyo okay tayo. We feel better. Salamat sa inyo I hope you had a blessed weekend. And of course, yung sakripisyo ni Jesus Christ will serve as an inspiration for all of us. Okay. Now, balikan natin ito. So, una-una, nung narinig ko itong, yung press conference announcement na yan. To be honest, ayusin natin ang lighting, mukha akong stress masyado. Lumalabas yung katotohanan. Ayan, ayusin natin. Low budget. Do it yourself. Huwag kang mahulog huwag kang mahulog. Hindi pa natin nice. Okay, una-una ito. Di ba for a while ina-explain ko na ISKO can be at the very least a kingmaker or potentially a queenmaker if not a competitive candidate himself. Sinasabi ko yan because mataas pa rin yung second preference niya at mas marami siyang overlap with BBM. So any surge in ISKO's numbers will make the race more competitive for all, but even more important, even more competitive for the opposition and to their benefit. Okay, balikan natin yung issue na yan tomorrow Pero ngayon balikan natin ito. So, when ISKO called for a press con, my sense is ISKO was the locomotive force behind this. But ngayon, after watching it, I'm having second thoughts. Feeling ko si ka-GMRC yung behind this But anyway, balikan natin to. So my sense was, ang mangyari dito is several candidates na aligned sa Duterte administration will effectively drop out. These are candidates who put together maybe have 2-3 points between them, right? And still, symbolically, it could create a common front, a third front. So one front is Sara Duterte and Marcos, but does not include the father, Duterte, the father in the Malacanang. Second front is, quote-unquote, real opposition. So you have Lenny there, and then with Calyodi there, and potentially you can say Pacquiao is also kind of there. And we'll discuss this also later on. And then you have a third front, which is You want to call it whatever, centrist front, enabler front, light front, call it whatever you want. But the third front, and you can clearly see ISKO is the most competitive candidate sa third front na yan. So my sense was, some of these other candidates, I mean, I didn't even know they're running until pinanood ko sila sa SMNI. At na ano sila ni Ma'am Carlos, parang mga estudyante lang na magtitesis. Ganun lang ni Madam, wala na. The Professor, good Machiavellian, mga ganun. So, ay, tumatakbo pala tong isa. Di ba ito yung Noel nung panahon ni Arroyo nung mag-2010 election? Di ba ito yung ano, ganun. Tumatakbo palang presidente itong mga to. Okay. So sabi ko, siguro itong mga to, tsaka marami dyan, pro Duterte naman, si ISKO, openly hiningi naman niya yung endorsement ni Pangulong Duterte. Si Pangulong Duterte naman mismo ay hindi openly nag-endorse kay Bongbong Marcos, at alam naman natin bakit, or alam ba natin? Diba? Diba? So, you would think the strategy here is to make all of these other candidates drop out in favor of ISKO. So, ISKO opens a third united front. That was the strategy that I was thinking, okay, actually, nung una narinig ko, okay to, magandang strategy ni ISKO to. Siyempre, okay, I mean, we're being non-partisan. So, I'm just looking at this from the point of tactics, no? Not even strategy, just basic tactics. So, okay, ISKO opening a third front na united front. So, drop out yung mga iba na, tumatakbo pala to. Mga ganon. And then ISKO can pick up two points, let's say, 1 to 2 points, put all of these guys together. Okay, then he becomes double digit, so he's in the 10 points. And then from there, he can build up. And then from there, he can get the Sara Duterte votes. That is now with Bongbong Marcos, but could actually be shifted back. So that could have been the strategy. And to be honest, I was thinking, baka naman yon. And sabi ko, interesting nga kung yan ang gagawin ni ISKO. Na ipapadrop out niya yung mga iba dyan, na purong mga pro-Duterte, as in the President Duterte, and then effectively create a double-digit first preference, then go after the Sara Duterte supporters. These are like 30 points. 30 points out of 50 points of Bongbong Marcos. Go after them, pick up 10, 15 points there, boom! You have a totally different race there. That would have been very interesting. Then ISKO could potentially look at 20 points, 25 points, and then BBM could go down to say 35, 40, 45. Yun po ang inisip natin. Na the purpose behind this is ISKO is calling on some of the other candidates to drop out in favor of him, and these are the candidates part of the third front. Call them, as I said, centrist, Duterte Light, etc. And had he convinced LACSON to actually drop out also, that's another 4 to 5 points. So ISKO could have gone up to 25, 30 points potentially at his ceiling if he plays his card well in the coming weeks. So, in short, yan ang nangyari. So, 2 points here from that, you can know which people I'm talking about. No, yung mga, nasa SMNI ko lang nalaman tumatakbong president. Pick up 2 points there, pick up 5 points kay LACSON. So, meron siyang 8 to 9 points. Sabi ng Okta today, 9 points siya, 9, 5 to 7. So, 16 points, right? More or less 16 points ang tinitignan natin dito. So, 16 points, that's your first preference. Meron ka pa rin 15 to 20 points second preference. So you get even half of that, and half of that mostly overlaps. More than half of that overlaps with BBM. Boom! Ibang usapan to. Yan dapat po ang arithmetic ng strategy ng ISKO camp. Ayan na, nag-free advice na naman tayo dyan. But to be honest, that's how I see the math there. You can do the math on your own. So, kung may whiteboard ako, isusulat ko lahat na yan. So, yun yung mga permutations na tinitignan natin. Now, as I said, ISKO has more overlap with Bongbong than Lenny. So, if he picks up, it's Bongbong who's gonna lose more, not Lenny. Right? Okay. Now, so obviously, that was apparently not the case. So, it's like, okay, that's weird. Which brings us to the next level. Apparently, they're calling for unity, pero wala mag-withdraw. So, ano yun? Di ko gets yan. Paano kayo mag-unity kung naglalaban-laban pa kayo? Parang, alabo yun Parang, hindi ko mag-gets yung paano mangyayari na mag-unity kayo. Tapos, lumalaban pa rin kayo. I mean, I don't get it. Hindi ko talaga nag-gets yan. I mean, I don't know. I can get it in some, okay, whatever way. But honestly, nag-unify pa kayo kung wala naman mag-withdraw. So, anong petsa na? Ano na? Uwi na tayo. Anong ginagawa natin? So, nalaman ko, wala pala mag-withdraw. Ano pang gagawin natin dito? Nako, free drinks kaya lang yata nandyan. So, yun yung second na weird. Mag-unify, pero walang mag-withdraw. So, ano yun? Mag-unify kayo sa hindi pag-withdraw? So, yun bang nangyari talaga dito? At dito ko na-gets na hindi siya ata si ISKO talaga ang locomotive force dito. Ang feeling ko ang force talaga dito ay, alam na this, mga ka-GMRC. Mga ka-GMRC, mga hindi nag-reply sa tweet, tapos pinapost ng kabila, tapos feeling, ang galing. Ayan, alam na natin sino may pakanan. In fairness, nung pina-interview naman si Senator LACSON, sinabi na dun sa interview ng isa, dun sa mga sabi niya, kasi pinapa-withdraw kami, kaya kailangan namin sabihin talaga na hindi kayo mag-withdraw. Parang, ano yun? Kailan yun? Parang this is so early April at most, right? Sabi ko nga, sir, huwag ka na mag-withdraw. Stay ka lang dyan. Baka pupunta pa kay ano yan pag nag-withdraw ka, di ba? Kaya hindi ko alam yung anong drama yan. Tapos na nga, nag-move on na nga. Nag-statement na nga sila Lenny na they're not pursuing a unity with these people anymore. Hindi naman yata opposition talaga yung iba dyan, di ba? Kaya yun yung stance ng mga Lenny team. Kaya doon ko nalaman hindi si ISKO talagang may dyan. Ayan. Mag-unity, wala pa na mag-withdraw. Ayan tayo . So, unity in not withdrawing. Okay. Kaso may nakita akong meme kanina. Lenny withdrew. Yan, withdrew Arellano picture. Ayan tayo . O, hindi ko na papatulan yung mga ibang yung mga ibang memes, mga itlog, ganun. Hindi ako papatol, hindi tayo ganun. Respectable human beings tayo dyan. Ayan tayo dyan. Ito. Sino nag-post yan? Ito, withdrew, Lenny withdrew. Ayan na tayo . Ayan na naman tayo. Which brings me to point number 3. Hi. Bukas balikan natin yung interregnum. Nakaka-interregnum itong press conference na to. Ang interregnum in a different sense of the word. Okay. Ito. Number 3. Yung mga nandyan sa likod. Yung mga makinig kayo dyan. Yung mga pasaway dyan, makinig kayo dyan. Number 3. Alam mo, kung siguro never ko tinignan yung mga surveys, siguro galing ako sa space, sinakyan ko yung SpaceX, ni Mr. I wanna buy Twitter, Elon Musk, no? Tapos tinignan ko tong Unity press con na to. Siguro ang sasabihin ko, wow! Si Lenny yata ang frontrunner, Kasi, parang halos wala akong narinig about BBM, who's supposedly the frontrunner. Ang dami ko narinig about Lenny. Daming attack kay Lenny. And parang, wait lang. I thought si BBM yung frontrunner. Bakit yung ina-attack si Lenny? At kung si Lenny naman ang number 2, bakit yung i-withdraw yung number 2 laban sa number 1? I'm sorry, I just lost it. I'm sorry. I just don't see. Hindi ko gets yung math dyan. Hindi ko gets yung strategy dyan. So, yan ang level 3 na talagang parang wow. Levels. Spaghetti. Yeah, spaghetti. Yan, okay. Yan ang hindi natin nagigets dyan sa mga spaghetti na yan. Just when you thought, number 1, hindi pala mag-unify ba yung ISKO? Okay, whatever. Number 2, hindi naman mag-withdraw, nag-unify pa kayo. Ngayon, number 3, si Lenny pa yung ina-attack, hindi yung frontrunner. So baka naman si Lenny talaga yung frontrunner, hindi natin alam. Baka naman sir, baka naman pwede niyo share na sa amin dyan. Baka naman kung si Lenny talagang frontrunner, pag-usapan na natin yan. Bakit si Lenny natak? At kung sa number 2 si Lenny at malayo siya sa number 3, 4, 5, bakit si Lenny mag-withdraw? Ako po. Yes, it's true that ISKO has more second preference than Lenny. That's true. Pero hindi po nananalo yung mga... kumbaga parang Miss Universe yan. Kung first runner-up ka, people don't remember yun. Naalala ka lang kung nanalo ka. In the same way, kahit marami kang second preference, walang saysay yan unless you convert it to first preference. So far, Lenny has converted far more into first preference than all of those guys combined, put together. Isama po natin ang votes ni ISKO, ni LACSON. Sino pa yung isa? Pagsama po natin, wala pa sa kalating Lenny yan. Nako po. Yan ang hindi ko nagigets dyan. Bakit si Lenny yung inatak? Now, okay, eto. Totoo na doon sa mga pink, lalo yung lawan kaysa yung pink may mga pasaway dyan na mayabang na troll ng troll kay LACSON tsaka ISKO. Aminado ako, meron yung mga ganyan dyan. Bati ako, tinetroll ngayon Bati ako, pang isasabihin lang ako na hindi ganun kaganda lang sa candidate nila, aatake na naman tayo. At saka doon sa mga tawag sa akin, liberal, huwag kayong ganyan, mag-research kayo. Ako yung inattack 2 years ago ng mga yan, huwag kayong ganun. Tignan yung mga atake nila sa akin noon. Don't try to pigeonhole me, excuse me. I've been attacked by at least 2 sides in the past 6 years. And that's because I speak my mind, and hindi ako beholden sa mga kulto-kulto dyan ng mga iba-iba dyan. We are sovereign thinkers. We're serious people who think here. Now, I'm not creating false equivalence here because sometimes yung isang side mas pasaway talaga kaysa sa kabila. So, ibabalanse mo yan. Hindi, kaya nga, kumbaga sa journalism, neutrality doesn't mean that Mr. X said there is sun, Mr. Y said there is sun, and then hindi mo i-check kung may sun talaga. Kung wala talagang sun, then you make that statement. Ganun naman talaga dapat ang neutrality. Hindi neutrality, sabi ni ganito, sabi ni ganito, ganyan, tapos ng usapan. Hindi, nagsingaling tong isa you call it out. In fairness sa mga Lenny, nag-graduate. At hindi siya nagbobola dun sa graduation niya. At dun sa mga nagyayabang-yabang kay Lenny, nag-graduate yan ng UP School of Economics. Hello. Paano ko pa explain to na hindi madali mag-graduate ng UP School of Economics? I took a lot of courses in UP School of Eco. It's a legit program. Yun lang masasabi. Ayaw ko na magsalita kasi baka sabihin nila naman, elitista tayo, mayabang tayo, ayaw ko na magsalita. Now, yung iba, nakidaan sa mga university dyan sa UK, maraming pera yung tatay Hindi natin alam galing saan yan. But, hindi naman nag-graduate. Hindi man lang tinapos yung second year yata. You call it out. If they're claiming na hindi false naman. Tapos atake na si Len, ganyan. At least nag-graduate si ate. Hindi lang 1, 2 course ang nag-graduate niya. Ayan tayo. Okay. So, yun yung weird na third, na parang, bakit si Lenny neta? Akala ko frontrunner yung isa. At bakit mo i-withdraw yung number 2? Ang layo ng number 2 sa number 3 and 4 and 5 as first preference. And last time I checked, first preference is the basis for competitiveness, not second preference per se. Second preference tells you how much room for improvement you got. Sure. And as I said, ISKO has a lot of room for improvement. Sure, no problem. But still, the competitiveness is based on the first preference numbers. Common sense po yan. Ay, maraming nanood ngayon Ayan talagang gusto nyo ba yung style ko ngayon? Medyo Yeah! Okay. Number 4. Patapos na tayo sa lecture natin. Mabilis lang tayo ngayon. Pahinga na ako, may trabaho po tayo. Number 4, what's interesting about this press con is not only the people who are there, but the people who are not there. Now, base sa alam ko, Senator Pacquiao was invited and Calyodi was not invited. Nonetheless, the two were not there, and the two in no shape or form have expressed any kind of support for whatever transpired in that whatever thing, you want to call it press con, you want to call it whatever. Okay, that's up to you. Be creative, but let's be polite, okay? Now, that has a relevance because remember a while ago I was saying if you look at this race, essentially, now I know what people are trying to do. No, but ISKO wants to win the presidency. Ping Lacson obviously wants to win the presidency. To dismiss them as just being whatever of BBM is unfair. And you're missing the point. I mean, you can clearly see the ambition of ISKO. You can clearly see the ambition of Ping Lacson. Hindi ko na alam dun sa iba na they want to be presidents themselves. And they're not most impressed by Bongbong Marcos. Right? Let's be very clear about that. So you really have the Sara Duterte, Bongbong Marcos axis. Although, of course, we have made some analysis of what's happening in Mindanao. And then meron kang LACSON, ISKO, and then those other guys, right? Guys talaga, lahat sila lalaki. And then the third camp, and I think the third camp is this. The third camp is Lenny, Calyodi, and Pacman. These three, I think essentially put them into third camp. Now, you want to call it whatever you want to call it. You can call it the real opposition. You can call it the real alternative. You can call it progressive, liberal opposition, etc. Now, obviously, that creates some complications because Pacman, Senator Pacquiao, let's just be fair, he was very close to President Duterte until President Duterte did not support his run for the presidency. But in fairness to him, since then, to be technical about it, since April last year, he has been saying some very encouraging things on West Philippine Sea, on corruption, accountability issues, and alam natin of all other major contenders, however you want to define it, Senator Pacquiao has had the best rapport with Leni Robredo. And as I've mentioned earlier, if there could be a real opposition, real unity, my sense is these three candidates can talk it among themselves. I think it would be interesting kung mag-usap yung tatlo na yan. I think there is a viability around that. I think there's a lot of overlap between Pacman's vote and Leni. This is where I have some difference with that Tangere, whatever, okay, that thing I shared. It affirmed what I said, read the BBM ISKO overlap vis-a-vis Leni. But I don't buy as much the Pacquiao overlap with BBM. I think the numbers are not. Basta, hindi siya tugma sa aking basa. Okay. Wala eh. Gusto ko lang. Hindi lang talaga siya tugma eh. Wala eh. Magaling tayo. Alam natin eh. Ayan tayo. Ayan naman. Ganun talaga. Ganun eh. Alam natin eh. Oh. So, feel ko Feel ko talaga eh. Feel tayo eh. Feeling tayo. Hindi. Seryoso. I think that's where the real discussions on united opposition should happen. Pacquiao, Calyodi, and Leni. And this is not only a question of numbers. It's not about Pacman's 8 points, 7 points, 9 points, 6 points, 5 points, whatever survey you want to look at. I think it's more than that. And it's also not about under 1% supposed vote for Calyodi. If these three come really together under one candidate for these elections, is it probable? Obviously not. It's very unlikely. But it's worth discussing. So I think that's something that is also missed in discussions. Sinong wala dyan or hindi impitado? Hindi impitado si Calyodi because obviously they know Calyodi will not go along with this ek-ek. Pacman was invited but he didn't show up. That says a lot. That says a lot. That says a lot. Yun lang naman sa akin. Hindi, marami naman sa akin pero yun lang sa akin as my number 4. Okay, I'll keep it there. We can talk about more things.